One of the most common questions that I get asked is, Fritz, how do I help my clients to open up, move beyond the superficial level layer, and just make progress in my sessions faster, as fast as the first session, and even eventually as fast as just a few minutes. Your clients are opening to up to you with things that they never told anyone, right? Everyone wants this result, especially if you're a practitioner who does give a fuck about your client results. And so a lot of the times, especially if you've learned the traditional hypnosis, they are very much focused on the rapport, which is important, but how they do rapport, it's is so clunky and unnatural and fake. And it really, the focus is on the hypnosis. Like, I'm going to give a client a pre-talk to prepare them for the hypnosis. Who the fuck cares? If your client wants to stop smoking today, if your client wants to leave a narcissistic relationship, if your client wants to move more so that they can feel good in their bodies and be alive for their grandchildren, they're not going to give a fuck if their hands are stuck together like this, right? And so this is something that we want to really get away from, because it's a waste of time if our focus on practitioners is things like that. You can instantly build rapport with a person unconsciously. And you need to listen to this. This is very, very important. You can build rapport unconsciously with your clients. Let that sink in. Okay. So the tip that I'm going to give you today is something that you can do unconsciously, meaning you don't have to overly explain yourself with words to get rapport with your client. You get to do one very, very important thing that in our current day and age is very difficult for everyone. Yes, including practitioners. I work with practitioners. They're not very good at this. This is not meant to be insulting. This is the truth. Practitioners have trouble listening to clients, and not just regular listening, active listening. This is what it doesn't look like. There's a client that comes to me and wants to leave a narcissistic relationship. I have my Zoom here and I have my script right here. You can see that my attention is already in my script, even if I have memorized the induction, which is what I did. I had memorized my induction in that first 10 minutes and 20 minutes of my session. So I just kind of like recited it, right? Like I was so disconnected because you know what happens when you habitualize something, like you don't have to be completely present in it, right? Like you can just like talk about it. I can just say 10, 9, 8 deeper, click, 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 click. That was the shit that I did, right? And I did that habitually now, which it really disconnected me with my clients because I was using a script. Although I memorized it, it's still a fucking script, right? And so what I had mentioned earlier, you can build rapport unconsciously with your clients. What does this mean in terms of listening? Have you ever had a friend who you just have that one friend who will just listen to you, right? You have a friend who is just so caring and very empathetic and knows exactly when to give advice or not give advice and just give you space, right? We all have that client. I mean, that friend. And so did that friend just pre-talk you before your conversation? No, right? That doesn't make any sense. That's unnecessary. Inside my world, we take unnecessary shit out and we throw that out because that's not necessary. If you just had the demeanor, if you had the attitude and behavior inside your session of actually giving a fuck about the client in front of you, and I know that you do, but when we start worrying about ourselves, meaning worrying about what to say, worrying about what to ask, worrying about what methods to use, we are disconnecting ourselves from that client. And that client is not going to build rapport with us because they can tell that we're not fully present with them. We've also had friends who just don't listen, right? Like you talk to them about your shit, and then somehow it becomes a conversation about them. We've all had that client. I mean, that friend. It's the same thing when we as practitioners talk to a client and say, hey, so tell me about why it's so difficult for you to leave this narcissistic relationship. And then they tell you, and then at the side you're like, okay, now you can take that emotion and feeling not good enough, and you're going to take that and pretend that it's vacuumed out of you, put a color in it, spin it clockwise, spin it counterclockwise, and imagine it just dissolving in the ethers. That's ridiculous. Okay. I don't know what that means. That is not what that client needs at that moment in time. And so, even though it might sound cool, even though some clients might like to see that, you got to meet your client where you're at. And the first thing that helps you with this is to actively listen, meaning you take away all of the shit that you have been taught and instead learn how to focus intently on the person in front of you. Once you actually apply the basic foundations, this is not just a nice to have. If you are looking at your practice and you're like, I'm getting good results, really, really good, but I could be better, and there are some hit or miss results, then you got to look at your whole system. Are you worried about what method to use? Do you not fully believe in the methods that you've used because everything that I've just told you makes so much sense? Think about that. This is not just a nice to have. Listening is the bare foundation, is the wall of an effective therapeutic transformation. Without this wall, there is no transformation that will last with time. It will get swayed with like a small blow of the wind if this isn't present within your sessions. This is foundational. And this is exactly what I teach in all of my trainings, even the free ones that I do from the bottom of my heart, because this is really and truly something that practitioners need to get better at. We live in a 6 second time span world. If you don't pay attention to your client, they're going to go somewhere else that is not conducive to them fully resolving their problem. And so, what are you doing in your sessions to allow you to listen better? Okay. What are you doing for yourself so that you can listen to yourself better? Because then once you do it, and once you stop bypassing the valid things that are going on inside of you, it just makes it better, right? And so if you truly want your client to open up to you in a minute, it involves your attention, your focus on the client in front of you. Because when you can work with people in general, once you know the very basic foundations of how the brain works, how the mind creates and solves problems, how the body protects itself, why is it that even though something completely toxic, such as alcohol, is ruining someone's life, why they can't stop, learning how to help your client shift that behavior, then you can work with any client effortlessly without needing any other method. And this is a skill set that just gets better like with time, just like fine wine. And so again, this is not a nice to have. This is absolutely, absolutely foundational. And this is what I teach inside the neurosync hypnotic questioning trainings so that you can be equipped to go from good to extraordinary results. Your clients can come into your sessions going, holy fuck, no one has ever got me to those deep layers. And I have been in therapy for so long. I have been in coaching for so long. I've even seen hypnotherapists and did the EMDR thing because you applied basic foundations and not the conscious smoke and mirrors bullshit that is taught out there. This is an invaluable skill that only the top hypnotists and coaches have. And so, if this is something that is interesting to you and this is your goal, starting today is what's going to help you get the skill 6 months from now. The things that we're doing today are because of the things we did in the past. So, if you want to start 2025 real good, then today is the start.